Knudsen,
What's up, Tursky?
this is Two Guys Talking Golf.
That's right, baby. And today, episode brought to you by Fujikura, the brand new Axiom iron shafts. So, listen, VeloCore technology that made Ventus the number one shaft on tour and at retail. It's now available for your irons with Axiom. New from Fujikura, man. VeloCore technology is precisely configured in Axiom to provide golfers extreme consistency, stability, and workability on all shots. These benefits include increased ball speeds from better and more consistent center face contact, tightened dispersion, and amazing control for more spin or more consistent shot pattern. So this results in a groundbreaking new feel for your irons, delivering a new sense of confidence in your approach shots. Find a dealer near you to schedule a fitting for Axiom at fujikuragolf.com/Axiom. AXIOM. So
Forward slash.
check those things out. They're good. / baby. They're good, man. I'm so excited. I was talking to the boys at Fuji, and hopefully I'll be getting a couple to test out, throwing some irons here soon. So your boy's excited to try them out.
Great ad read there. I'd give that like an 8.3. A couple small
Yeah, I
slip
think there
ups,
was a couple
but
of stutters.
for the most part,
Yeah.
thought it went very smooth.
I appreciate that.
All right. So, Wells Fargo week at Quail Hollow. We'll get into that. But before we do so,
Yep.
let's recap last week and some of the feedback that we've gotten. We obviously had a What's in the Bag competition. Now, people weighed in with their thoughts. So, what is it? Are they choosing whether they'd want our bags? Like, if they say, oh, I'm going with Knudsen, do they say, okay, I want that bag, or they think your bag is just like cooler and better?
From the responses I was kind of reading, and I went through a ton of them. I think a lot of people they either, player wise, they either kind of gravitate towards you or they gravitate towards me. And a lot of like the bigger hitters, the guys who swing it harder and hit it higher and all that, they seem to gravitate towards your bag. And the guys who don't hit it as high and as far and all that, kind of, it seemed like they maybe gravitated towards me as well. And there was some people who were split decision. There were people like, I'll take Tursky's woods and Newton's irons and da da da. So I think it was all over the place a little bit, and like we said, definitely a way closer matchup than last.
I mean, it feels
for
like
sure.
I lost. It feels like the votes were about 60% for you, 40% for me. I didn't do like a tally. I didn't do an official count, but the general feeling was that I lost. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you did, it was super close. I mean, it was one of those like have to do a recount, everything. It was like way closer this year than last year. Last year, you just ran away with it.
Last year was a blowout.
There was
No offense.
yeah,
But I
this
definitely
year
got the win
I think
last
I think I had it. Oh, for sure. And this year, I think I had a chance. I think I think people kind of loved the little the irons that were not readily known
Yeah.
and some other stuff. So. I think it's pretty close. I mean, I might take the victory, so we might be 1-1. So next year will be the rubber match, man. I'll have to see who takes it.
Your irons have been in my head. Like, I have so much respect for that.
Dude, they're so
So much respect. And I think the people
They're
like
solid,
your
man.
irons too.
yeah, they're especially because a lot of people probably haven't hit them, and when you do, they're just kind of off the radar. And when you hit them, you realize they're really good. So the people who have hit them kind of understand, and the people who don't or haven't hit them, I mean, they're gonna if they do, they'll find out. They're really
Well,
good.
congratulations. I'm gonna give you the win. I mean,
Thank you.
So I
Thank
think
you.
it's 1-1. I won
Yep,
2022. You won 2023. So 2024. What's up?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge. 2024 is going to be pretty massive. We're going to have to dig deep to try to win that one.
It's gonna be tough to beat Vega irons. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might have
It's
to
true.
go like
Somebody,
KZG or something like that next year.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Some KZG
I
blades.
used to have
That'd be
KZG
great.
blades growing up, for real. So I played
Yeah.
like
Dude,
the first set I ever got
love
fit
them.
for was actually a knockoff set of Callaways. They
The
were like
knockoff KZG.
no, they were fake Callaways.
Oh.
So they were knockoff Callaways. I was like maybe 13, and then I think around like 15 maybe I got KZG blades. I got like fit for them, and I used those for so long.
Zeos.
Taught me how to
The
play
Zeo
those
blades. The Zo.
Okay.
I remember when I worked when I worked at a shop, the guy who kind of was like teaching me stuff, he carried KZG, and I didn't really know much about it, and then hit a bunch of their stuff and realized it was really really good quality products. Man, they still make them, but you just don't see them very much.
Do they
anymore.
still make irons? Like you can buy new KZ3
I'm pretty sure.
irons? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the last I checked, which was a little while ago, but yeah, you could still get them.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens next year. All right.
All right, I like it.
So
It's on.
Wells Fargo designated event, 20 mil on the line.
Yep.
Is it 3.2 or 3.6 to the winner?
Oh, I didn't even look, but it's something big like that. But yeah, I didn't even look.
Either way, big paycheck. So it's kind of like a weird spot on the schedule. Obviously, we just played the Masters. Some of the guys took like a couple weeks off, especially Rory, obviously, which we'll get to
Yeah.
Rory. But this event is weird because it's stuck between the Masters and the PGA. So you would think like guys are trying to start dialing back in their setups, but it's also a huge event that these guys want to win. It's a lot of money on the line, obviously FedEx Cup points, all that, and strong competition at a great golf course. So I was like kind of wondering going in whether there were going to be a ton of changes, whether the guys are going to be testing, or if they were just going to stick with what they had and kind of get through this stretch of, Masters, RBC Heritage, Wells Fargo, and then PGA, kind of keep the bag consistent throughout that stretch. Some guys did go that route. There were less switches than I thought, but we still had some action this week. Let's not get it twisted. We had some gear action for sure. Before we get to the equipment, I do just want to shout out Quail Hollow. What a beautiful golf course.
I've never been there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's like, it almost has an Augusta-like quality. It's so green, so lush, big sweeping hills, tall trees, just old, beautiful golf course, great clubhouse. Charlotte in general is just awesome. Like the downtown school, the restaurants are great. Food's awesome around there. People are super nice. I'll try to shut up, but I do love Quail Hollow. I've never played it. I want to play it so bad. It's so high on my bucket list right now. Does it come across that way? It's just like a viewer who's never been there. Like, do you put Quail Hollow up on that top tier? Because to me, it's like, it's 1B on the PGA Tour schedule. I think Riviera is the best PGA Tour golf course, and then I go Quail Hollow number 2. Sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, I think Quail definitely has quite a legacy. I mean, it's hosted. I mean, this event for how long? Or it's hosted an event for how long? But it's one that I think players love. When you watch it on TV, it looks awesome. Now, I didn't know it had that Augusta type quality to it, but it doesn't. I guess it doesn't photograph as well as that. But I totally get it. But yeah, I mean, I still think it holds its own. It's got a long legacy of being on tour. It's hosted majors. I mean, it's just an absolute, gem. I mean, I think I would love to play it as well. Now, does it hold? Yeah, I mean, I think it's right up there. I mean, I think when you look at like, the Oakmonts and the Marions and, the Rivs and all that, I think it's got to play in that same arena. And maybe you don't rate it higher than some of those, but I still think it plays in the same ballpark and holds its own against them.
Even just hearing Oakmont gets me fired up. I think that's like my favorite U.S. Open track. Anyway, this isn't a podcast about golf courses, Knudsen. Let's get to some gear. Okay?
True.
Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
He has been changing equipment nonstop kind of this year. I mean, driver, long irons, obviously the Vokey Lob Wedge. He changed into the Scotty Cameron putter. Like, he's been nonstop in the news. We haven't shut up about him on this podcast. He's probably talked to me more this year than he's ever wanted to in his life. I don't know if he wants to talk about equipment every single week, but it's like, one of the biggest names on tour, and you're changing equipment, so we got to ask. We got to know.
Yeah.
It didn't slow down this week. So he came back. PGA Tour, obviously, a little controversial. He did not play in the last designated event. Jay Monahan kind of doubled down on the fact that he's not fined $3 million, but the $3 million comes out of the PIP, I think, the PIP.
Yeah.
From my understanding.
Yep. So they would just... it sounds like whatever he would win, they would just subtract $3 million from it. So
$3 mil.
It's still
that's a big pay cut.
It's a significant amount of money, man.
For 1 week off. But he was kind of saying that he needed like that mental break. Obviously, he's been very vocal, outspoken, kind of taking on like the Live versus PGA Tour. He's been the spokesperson for that pretty much. So he took 2 weeks off and apparently did a little equipment testing. So
he did.
So we see his bag. I think it was Tuesday, and he's got 4 lob wedges in there. So he's been playing a Vokey lob wedge for all of 2023 and late 2022. He's kind of been going back and forth between like that T grind and K grind, depending on course conditions. 4 lob wedges in the bag this week. No Vokey. All TaylorMade MG3. I'm looking at the photo right now. So he had an RM07 non-milled, pretty smooth lob wedge in it. Like no milling marks on it. And then he's got 3 with the regular milling marks on the sole. He's got a RM08, an RM05, and an LB08. So, I mean, obviously he's not playing 4 lob wedges. Like, we know why he has 4 in there. He's trying to decide what bounce is right for him, what grind is right for him, match the course condition as well. But apparently these are no normal milled grind 3 wedges. So we talked to Rory, and he explained what was going on. You know, obviously he switched to Vokeys. There was something about those Vokeys that he liked. He also brought out his old Nike wedges, the Mike Taylor Specials. You know, he's got that. He calls it like an M grind. I think it's probably a C grind, very versatile with some heel toe relief. He was basically trying to match what he liked about the Nike wedges, the Vokey wedges, and the TaylorMade wedges, and kind of bring those all together in terms of profile, leading edge, sole, bounce, you know, all those things that he likes about those wedges, and kind of trying to make a Frankenstein wedge out of these mill grind 3 wedges. So he had all those options, like I said, just for different bounce options and slight differences and leading edge and all that. Ultimately, he's going with the LB08, he says, but they've been working on this for like 6-7 months on the low. Like, we didn't know anything about this. We just thought he was playing Vokey wedges. You know, people like us, me and you, we kind of assumed that TaylorMade was probably working on something. Like, it couldn't have made him too happy to see Vokey wedges in his bag.
No.
And especially like the Scotty Cameron putter too. So they were probably like, all right, I mean, we really got to dial this in. But they posted TaylorMade posted an Instagram video. He was on the tour truck this week, still going through, like, did you see that video? They're analyzing
he's like
the
looking
leading
at him.
edge. Oh my God, they're so close. They're basically in there with like a magnifying glass, and he's talking about what he wants to see, what changes. Like, he is just so discerning when it comes to what he wants from a wedge. It's got to be tough for the TaylorMade team. You know, it's like, Rory, I mean, what do you want, bud? You know, it's got to be one of those type situations, but he's so particular about that lob wedge.
Yeah, and how is it taken this long for him to get like his own grind? I mean, I know he already had the Roars Proto blades. I mean, he had those made up for him, like a lot of the high, you know, the big name TaylorMade pros had. But it's kind of interesting to see that it got to this point, like now knowing how, and maybe it's just the situation he's in. Like, maybe it is the way his game is, the way he's feeling. He needs something new. But, you know, how have we not gotten here before? How do we not have something, you know, an RM grind of some sort that hasn't happened years ago? You know, I mean, he's been with TaylorMade a long time.
He did it with the irons.
You would think this. Yeah, exactly. You would have thought that wedges would have just kind of been the natural progression, that they would have worked on something and got him dialed in. And it's interesting because it's hard to tell exactly from the photo, but I've got a 60 LB at home, a mill grind 360 LB. And it's kind of a C grind. Like, you see the big C on the bottom, and it's very visual. You can really see where the contours change on the sole of that wedge. And his LB08 definitely looks different. Like, it does not look like it's the same C grind. It doesn't look like it has as much toe relief. It's got definitely some heel and trailing edge, but it doesn't look like it has a bunch out on the toe. So maybe it's an LB08, but it doesn't look like the same LB08 I have. So it's pretty interesting.
It's not.
When I saw that at first, I was like, oh, cool. It's the same LB. And then I was like, no, it's definitely not the same LB.
Nah, it's definitely not. I mean, they've been working hard at this. And even in the video, you can tell, like, he wants certain spots shaved, like on the leading edge. But did you look at the photos of the profile from Address? How does it look at Address compared to the one that you have? Can you tell any differences?
I can't really tell, and part of that too is when you look at them from Address, in photos, like it's different backgrounds and stuff like that. And I know, like some of mine, you set it down over like gray carpet, it looks a little different than on green grass and things like that. So I can't tell exactly if there's anything too different on it. I know somebody, in the comments or whatever is going to be like, you idiots, it's, easily this. But they probably just tweaked that shaping just a little bit for, like you said, his eye, which is, probably seeing a millimeter of change is big to him. So I don't notice a huge difference, but the sole grinds are definitely different.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If you gave me like a Vokey SM7, SM8, SM9, and I could only see the profile from Address, I'm not sure I'd be able to pick those out. But he can see, like you said, half a millimeter of change, whether it's like offset, leading edge, the roundness, the toe section. He's just so particular about what he wants, and I'm not sure I could even tell. It just goes to show like how impressive these guys are, in my opinion.
The funny thing is the SM7 to me, because it's funny, I was actually putting some shafts into a set of old the previous generation T100 heads, and the pitching wedge was an SM7, and to me, it does have like a little bigger, more rounded kind of a toe to it almost. So it's funny that you mentioned SM7 versus SM8 or whatever. Like, to me, I think I could notice between 7 and 8. I don't know about 8 and 9, but 7 and 8, I think I could tell the difference.
Fair enough. Maybe I could too. I don't know. But the point is, he's very particular with his wedges.
Yeah.
And it seems like TaylorMade got him dialed in. When I talked to him, I mean, he seemed pretty happy with what they came up with. Obviously, it's taken a long time, probably longer than TaylorMade wanted. There was probably also a period of time where he wasn't really looking at changing the wedge. But, as he's obviously not won the Masters, he has been playing like particularly well. Time to make some changes, and maybe this was just the right time for him to revisit it. The 08 bounce makes sense to me, and, just compared to like the 07 or the 05. Just because Quail Hollow is really soft, and I think Oak Hill for the PGA Championship will probably play pretty similarly. Quail Hollow, Oak Hill, I think they're similar enough. So we'll probably see that LB08 carry over into the PGA as well, unless he goes back to a Vokey. I mean, at this point, you don't really know. Like, he could change that driver shaft out. He could go back to a different driver. He could change long irons. Like, Rory right now, you just don't know. So it looked like he might be locked into that Scotty Cameron for a minute. Then he misses the cut at the Masters, and it's like, I was just waiting to see what was going to happen with this putter this week. Scotty's out. So he's back to the Spider Hydro Blast. Interestingly, me and Greg both got a very close look at the putter. There's like a paint chip right on the top line.
Yeah.
Like a big paint chip right on that white paint right near the face. And it's not centered either. It's slightly off center. I'm really surprised that he doesn't just get a different head.
Well, that was already to touch it up. I mean, those guys at TaylorMade, they have the technology. They could probably, get it shipped back to wherever they need, like back to the headquarters, the Kiyama Putter Lab inside TaylorMade headquarters, have it touched up, flown back out or whatever. I mean, they could get it done instantly. Oh, yeah. But who knows? But, some of these, look at Tiger's putter. You would think like, oh my gosh, this putter is just, it's the holy grail of golf clubs. And it looks like it was dragged behind a golf cart for 9 holes.
That is what it looks like.
Some of these guys, it's just a tool. It's a tool. Yeah. And if it works, they don't need it to look absolutely perfect. And to some of us, there's resale value involved and things like that when we get our golf clubs and, hey, we'll trade them in, get new ones. They don't care. Like, if he wants a new putter, he walks under the truck, says, I'd like a new putter. They make him one, and he walks out. They have no value to him. There's no monetary value.
That's why it surprises me he doesn't make a new one. But
Yeah, but if the feel's right, I mean, you've had it where, I mean, you've had to, I think everybody has, where you hit a golf club, like demo it on the range,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go buy one out of the shop or you order it or whatever, and it's just not
Just
quite the
not the
same.
same. Yeah.
I bet it's the same with these guys. I think it's one of those where, you know what, it doesn't bother me. I still align it the way I want to. I'm gonna roll with it because a new one, there's a chance it just isn't the same. So let's go with the boy with the
Yeah.
scratch.
So it's not exactly the same putter though, because he did change the grip. He used to have that
Yep.
like Ryder Cup colors, the Super Stroke. It was blue and yellow, like some black and white in there, just because of the Super Stroke logoing. That grip's now off. He's gone to a red and white Super Stroke Zenergy, that the new Super Stroke grip, with the different textures on the side. He said originally, I guess when he changed over that grip, he was like, with Super Stroke grips, you have to be a little bit careful because they have that ridge running down the back. And he's like, it could look square from the top, but then you turn over the backside and the ridge is like slightly off center. And he's like, that really affects the way I put my hands on the putter. He's like, because sometimes it'll get too far underneath. And he's like, I really want to be neutral, but depending where that ridge is, it could affect his hand. So he's like, we had to get that changed and straightened up. But now he seems really happy with the putter. Is he going to putt well? Is he going to play well? I don't know. You know, that remains to be seen. He just missed the cut at the Masters out of nowhere. You know, he was a favorite to win. People thought he was going to blow the field away. Then he misses the cut, and that was kind of a shock to the system. Now he's kind of resetting the golf bag. So just interesting stuff from Rory, man. Interesting stuff here.
Yeah, and the Super Stroke is using a Pistol GT Tour.
Yep.
I think, or is it just called the Pistol Tour now?
Yeah, I think they got rid of.
It used to be called the Pistol GT Tour.
They got rid of that GT nomenclature. Big word.
Yeah, I think it's just the Pistol Tour. Man, now I'm like, wow, you had a thesaurus out this morning, huh? And I've liked that grip. I have a Pistol GT 1.0 on my Ben Hardy Gamer. So that's this is the newer version of the grip that I have. A little smaller, but yeah, it's a good, you know, it's just cool to see Rory tinkering around. I love it. I mean, it's just a guy who he's struggling a little bit. He's trying to find what works, and it's just, you know, if we all had the same access he did, we'd all have 4 lob wedges in the bag with different grinds, trying to figure out what
probably true.
We all would.
You would have 16 of them, probably from 16 different brands as well.
The other cool thing about like TaylorMade is when he does figure out which lob wedge works, like whatever he figures out. I love it now because it's not only TaylorMade, a bunch of people do it, but like that milled sole, they can pop out like 20 of them, and he just has them ready to go on the van. So like, you know, wears one out, grooves get a little dull, take a new one, and they're exactly the same every time. I mean, from what I've heard, even the hand ground stuff from the best guys in the business, there's little variances from wedge to wedge and all that. And with the milling, the variances, I mean, are absolutely nothing. So kind of cool that he'll be able to, you know, have one dialed in and it'll be the exact same from here on until he decides not to play it.
I do think Rory low-key is a gearhead too. Like me and Jay Wall, if you don't know who Jay Wall is, he's another equipment writer in the business. Me and Jay Wall were talking to Rory, and he spent like 7 minutes talking with us just about equipment, and he seemed happy to do it. He also just seems like in general a little bit more stress-free. Like that 2 weeks off did kind of seem necessary. He was definitely running a little bit stressed before then. He just seemed more relaxed, like a little bit happier, and he seemed very happy to talk about equipment as well. Like he was getting fired up talking about wedges, and then he mentioned going back to the Nike just to like kind of look at it. You know, he was practicing back home. It wasn't something that like he was actually considering putting back in play. I think he just wanted to revisit why he liked that wedge. Like, what was it about that grind? What was it about the profile that I like so much? And I was like, that's the Mike Taylor special. You know, he had that special grind. He's like, he was getting fired up. He was like, yeah, exactly. The Mike Taylor special. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I got on Rory. That was obviously like the biggest news. I mean, biggest news of the week. So, we got that out of the way. We got Rory out of the way. We'll just continue on down my list that I got. So let's get into the Adam Scott segment of the week.
Well,
Shall we?
I mean, this is pretty much the Adam Scott show.
It is.
So,
Okay, so he's changed basically everything in the bag in the last 3 weeks.
yeah.
He did. So it was what?
Crazy.
It was driver shaft, iron shafts, golf ball at the Masters. Like just at the Masters, right? Was there anything else?
Were the irons just before the Masters? I remember that being like a big thing when he went from to the like the newest version of the Adam Scott logoed ones.
He doesn't even have those in the
Maybe that
bag.
was before. But...
He never put those in the bag.
Oh, they're not in the bag anymore?
They're not. They never were. I thought they were going to go in either at the Players. Like we saw them at the Players.
Yep.
Then.
So he still got the first gen.
He still just has the first gen, but he's been changing the iron shafts out nonstop. Like he had the Project X LZ 6.5s, then went to the X100s, like just in the last couple weeks. It's hard to keep up because he's changed so much in 2023 so far. So it's hard to tell like what actually is changing week to week because it's all changing nonstop. But this week it seemed a little bit tamer. Like he had the same putter, mostly the same wedges. We'll get to that. I think the driver and the driver shaft are still the same. He's got that Ventus TR 6X in there, right?
Blue.
Yeah. So he still has that.
6X. Or no, is it blue 6X or 7? I think it's a 7.
Okay. Either way, that shaft is
7X.
still in there. Like he didn't change.
He
didn't change the driver shaft. No fairway wood changes.
Yep.
I think he's still trying to decide between that Mizuno Fly High and the Shrixon utility iron that he likes. I think he likes both of those, and he probably wants to play them both, but there's no room in the bag, so he keeps trying to have to make a decision there. But what he did was he went to a 48-degree Vokey wedge, and he took out the pitching wedge from the Mura set. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it's always just fascinating why Adam Scott does what he does, because he tests nonstop. He changes nonstop. But these small little changes, they make sense when you think about them, because he's at Quail Hollow.
Yeah.
It's a little bit softer. Obviously needs like a little bit more bounce. I mean, those mirrors are very flat. There's not a lot of bounce on them. They're pretty sharp. So when you go to a course like Quail Hollow and the conditions are soft, you might want a little more bounce. So he throws in the Vokey 48 instead of the pitching wedge to the set. I thought that was just like a fascinating small little change that most people wouldn't pick up on, but it makes sense when you think about it, you know? And I think for people setting up their bags, you know, you should probably think about stuff like that. If you tend to play, like you're up in Michigan, it's probably wet all the time up there. You know, maybe you do want to go with a wedge that's more of a wedge rather than an iron. You know what I mean? What do you got in this one?
No. Yeah, I mean, I did the switch. I mean, for me, it wasn't a 48, it was a 46. But I played the Vokey pitching wedge in those first generation T100s, and then the second generation T100s, I ended up going SM8 46 and playing that. And, you know, it's interesting because, like, I'm now I'm back away from it, and I'm back in the standard pitching wedge. But for me, it wasn't so much course conditions, it was usage. It was more, at the time, I found myself really doing a lot of pitching and chip shots with my pitching wedge, you know, just trying to kind of bump and run stuff onto the green and, you know, play a little more release, play some lower shots. And for me, the Vokey just was a little more versatile. It felt like it was, you know, it had a little better turf interaction. You could kind of, like I said, a little more bounce, a little wider sole sometimes, depending on the irons. You could kind of slam it down into the turf and just kind of pop the ball out. And it was just a really versatile wedge. And you felt a little more comfortable when you opened the face because it looked like a sand wedge, you know? Mm-hmm. Where when you open the face on a pitching wedge, like a standard set, I don't know, it looked a little different because you don't normally do that with irons.
I normally don't open the face on my pitching wedge. That's like a rare...
So, yeah, exactly.
Why are you opening the face on your pitching wedge, bud?
If you had like a little funky lie with, you know, a ball, you know, like you had a little grasp on the ball and you just had to kind of pop it over the fringe and get it to release a little bit, I would try to open the face just a touch, just to kind of pop it up and take kind of a shorter little swing and just get it up in the air, let it bounce and roll off. So shots like that, I felt like just the Vokey was way easier to do. So
were you more accurate on like full shots from the fairway, would you say?
No, No, you paid a little
Okay.
price when you mishit it. So if you missed a little thin, missed a little like a couple grooves low, or you hit it off the toe a little bit, you didn't have the same either perimeter weighting or thinner face or any of that stuff to kind of help you out. So in those shots, if you missed it, you were coming up short of the green and coming up, potentially putting yourself in a tougher spot. But pitching wedge for me is a club that. I mean, I don't want to say hit it well all the time, but the percentage is a little higher than, say, like a 6-iron.
I don't think Adam Scott has to worry about it. I'm not sure he's ever missed the center base,
No.
especially with a pitching wedge.
I mean, probably not in like 30 years. But the past 30 years.
Could be true.
I mean, other than that.
That might be the last time he missed the center of the face with a pitching wedge was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It could be.
I wouldn't be shocked.
All right, so the weekly Adam Scott segment is concluding now. Let's move on to I talked to Tommy Fleetwood. He has been playing the burner mini driver, so I wanted to talk to him about that. Let me just pull up these quotes real quick because I'm just going to read what he said because I thought it's all pretty interesting here. So, all right. I asked him, I basically asked him like to explain what's the benefit of a mini driver. People I see in the comments all the time, like, yeah, the mini driver, like, cool concept, but it's not going to fit in my bag because I play 3-wood and the driver. Like, why would I need a mini driver? So I asked him that and kind of just listened to what he had to say. He said, for me, if I had to hit a fairway, I'm more comfortable hitting a driver than a 3-wood. Pretty interesting, and it's kind of something that we've talked about on this show a lot. He continues, so if I had to hit the fairway, more comfortable hitting a driver than the 3-wood. I would tee the driver down, and I would hit a little cut or a necky cut in the fairway. The 3-wood isn't for that. The 3-wood generally is a pretty hot club that I'll hit from like 270 or 280 from the fairway on a par 5. So you get some courses where a 3-wood is not always even necessary. With the burner, you put a normal swing on it, and it goes a little bit shorter than a driver, and I'm more comfortable hitting it straight. So it's a replacement for a 3-wood. He's like, you can think of it almost in terms of wedges at the low end of the bag. Some people have 4 wedges. Some people only have 3. And then if you only have 3, you have to manufacture the 52 to go, 100, 105, whatever your gapping is. Like, you have to manufacture the swing. Yeah. And he's basically making that comparison to the driver. He continues. There are different shots. That's effectively what you do with your main driver. You'd be manufacturing it to hit that shot in the fairway, which is great, but maybe you want something that you can just hit. Like what he's saying is he has the burner where he can just go ahead and hit it, and that takes the yardage off rather than manufacturing that necky cut with the driver if it's imperative to put the ball in the fairway.
Yeah.
He said, with the burner, you can still hit it off the ground, and it goes very similar distance to the 3-wood. It spins enough. It's not a deep enough face where it's so far off the ground that the ball's not going to rise. So you get a pretty decent strike, enough to get in the air. It's basically a big-headed 2-wood. Mini driver.
Okay.
Then he tells like a quick little interesting story here. I thought it was awesome. He said, for me, I remember the TaylorMade burner in 1998 because it was my first ever proper driver. So Lee Jansen was doing a clinic. He was the U.S. Open champ. I think he won in 98. So right after he wins the U.S. Open, he goes over to the Open Championship. Fleetwood continues. He said, it was the Open at Birkdale. I was 7 years old. Some juniors could go up and hit a shot, and they gave you a burner driver like as like your prize. So they were calling juniors up, or they were asking for volunteers. If they went up and hit a shot in front of the clinic, they got a burner driver as their prize. So 7-year-old Tommy Fleetwood goes up at this Lee Jansen clinic at Birkdale in 98, hits a shot, gets a burner. That's his first ever driver. This is back in 98. However many years later it is. I can't do math that quick on the spot. But flash forward to 2023, now he's playing the burner mini driver. It's just cool, like little full circle moment. And for him, it boosts that nostalgia factor as well. Like they did such a good job with the the burner mini driver, having all those call outs and flashbacks, the colorways, the old TaylorMade logo. It's like, this is the driver that he used to play growing up. Just so funny. Such a full circle thing. And I thought it was really informative from him just about why he plays a mini driver. And to me, it just kind of like echoes some sentiments I've had about the mini driver for a while. I do just think it's a great, like, fairway finding club that I honestly think is a little bit more accurate than a 3-wood. And after talking to Fleetwood, I know we did our what's in the bags last week, but now I really want to play mini driver again. I just can't help it. But what do you got on Fleetwood, the mini driver, all that?
Yeah, I mean, for him, it makes sense because he, like he said, you can hit it off the turf. Well, he can hit it off the turf really well. Now, I haven't tried the 13.5 degree, but the 11.5 degree, I can hit it off the turf. It doesn't go great. It doesn't go high enough.
It
goes a long way, but it doesn't go high enough. Yeah, I've got to rely on a lot of release and a lot of roll to get it to where I need it to go. And if the hole doesn't set up for that, then I can't hit it. So, yeah, for a guy like him who hits it high, can get it up in the air, all that, makes a bunch of sense. All his points are solid. For the amateur player who will have to strike it off the turf and doesn't do it well, then all of a sudden it becomes one-dimensional. Now it's the how often are you going to hit it off the tee on that par 4 where you need to hit the fairway, to the point where, well, if you need to hit the fairway that bad on that course, like, why even bring the driver then? If you can justify hitting it that many times, why not just play a mini driver then? And then, put a 3-wood that you're going to hit off the turf, and then it becomes your actual driver. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a club that's, I like the burner mini for what it is. It just doesn't fit in my bag. And I think for the players who it does, like you, who can hit it high enough, who generates enough speed where as a 3-wood, it's just a 3-wood. And yes, maybe you can't hit it off every single lie that you may encounter that you could maybe hit your TSR3 with. It makes a lot of sense that way. And for guys like him too, who, like you said, he has to manufacture certain shots. If he can put a club in there that he doesn't have to manufacture the shot, he can just swing normal, hit the normal shot, and get the desired result. And it happens enough in the rounds where he can justify putting it in the bag and either removing his original 3-wood or changing something else in the bag. Then I totally get it. But, for some other players, I see it as a very one-dimensional club.
He is playing the 13.5, so it does give you that extra launch, a little bit more spin. It sounds like for you the 13.5 would be the better option, but you don't have one. So I guess it'd be tough to test something you don't have. He also continued on. I'm not going to read the whole thing at this point, but he did say, he was like, you can actually play the 11 degree as your driver, the 13 degree as like your quote unquote 3-wood. He's like, you don't even have to play a driver. You play 2 mini drivers. He's like, I actually might do that. So if Fleetwood ends up playing 2 mini drivers, he's the GOAT. He's the gear GOAT as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, that would be for me. Like, what would you do? You'd play 11.5 mini driver, play it down 1, so the face sits a little bit open, 10.5 degree, bomb it. And then you make one that's a 13.5, a little heavier, a little heavier shaft, a little shorter build for that super accuracy and hitting it off the deck. And yeah, if I was talking, that'd be, I mean, if Fleetwood pulled that off, that'd be amazing just to see. Because the 11.5, I think if you set it up right, you're probably not, I mean, you're not going to lose that much driver. Maybe for him, he may notice a bigger thing, but I mean, I play a 10.5 driver, playing an 11.5, burner mini at similar, I mean, the yardage I'm going to see difference is going to be pretty minimal.
How much do you think it would
be? I hit them both really, really well.
Because he said it was only 3 to 4. I think he said 3 to 4 miles per hour slower than his driver.
Oh wow! Yeah, for me, I mean, because I get the inconsistencies. So when you look at the average of striking it all over the face compared to like a Stealth 2, I mean, I'm probably looking at like maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour when you start looking at the averages. Because I'm going to hit a few off the heel, a few off the toe, whatever. When you factor all those together, I bet it's not even. I bet it's a mile an hour or 2 slower.
How is that possible? Really? It's so much smaller than a driver. Like,
I mean, I think dead center to dead center. I mean, because look at drivers right now. If you're able to strike dead center on a brand new whatever driver, whatever driver you're playing, you're able to strike a dead center 10 shots in a row. You grab the next driver, hit dead center 10 shots in a row. The ball speed's probably not that crazy, that wildly different. It's when you you're around that center.
Right.
That the newer stuff tends to hold up a lot better. And how often do you hit one really good but not quite perfect? You do that more than you hit perfect.
Well, I never hit it.
You're
perfect.
holding better ball speed.
Well,
maybe once a year. Maybe once a year. But I think that's
once a year,
when you're making drivers. Once a year, you hit it perfect, and you're just like, wow, that went forever. And then the other, 200 drives that you hit, they're okay.
Yeah.
But no, I think if you're able to isolate it to just dead center shots, it's probably not that. I mean, they're probably very, very similar in terms of ball speed. But when you start moving it around the face a little bit, that's when you notice, the driver may give you a little more. The face is bigger. Little more, little bigger sweet spot. So that's how I think of it.
Well, maybe one day we'll make it through a podcast not talking about a mini driver, but it's not today. Maybe next week.
But I doubt it.
All right. So I got 5 more topics here, which I will run through fairly quickly. Those were the biggest points of news to me. Now we'll get through the lightning round part of the podcast here.
Lightning round.
All right. So we had an undercover signing this week. Very low key. Lucas Glover, it appears, has signed with Srixon.
Yeah.
So he had a Srixon staff bag. He's been playing Srixon driver. I think he's been playing the irons for most of 2023. Cleveland wedges. And now he's in a Srixon golf ball. I think he's got the Z-Star XV.
Yeah, the XV.
Okay.
That's what you wrote when I read your article.
Good. Thank you for reading the article, Benson. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Where did you read that at?
Yeah.
Is that over on golfwx.com?
If you want to go to golf... That's right. You look for the tour report. It typically has a lot of this great information.
That was another ad read right there, Loki. Yes, it seems like Lucas Glover has signed with Srixon. They haven't officially announced anything. I haven't seen anything from them. But he's got a Srixon staff bag. I don't think he's rocking a Srixon staff bag if he's not on staff.
Probably not.
So I don't think he actually really even changed too much. I don't know what golf ball he was playing before. What do you know what he was playing before? I guess I should probably look that up real quick.
No. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Srixon. I mean, Lucas Glover's a major champion. I mean, got to say that he is a major champion. So you've got a major champion guy, and another one on your roster. But yeah, if it makes sense, if it's somebody who's been, he's been playing the clubs, whether it's irons, wedges, whatever already, why not? I hate when we bring stuff like this up because it always makes me sound like an a-hole. But let's be honest, Lucas Glover is probably not the most expensive guy to sign, and I'm not saying that in a mean way or a bad way, but
fired.
For a guy who's already using some of your product to bring him on, have the bag, the head covers, and add some more, kind of your brand to his equipment, why not? Probably didn't cost you that much more.
The May signing, I was not expecting. That's more of a January type thing typically. But like you said, if he's playing the product already, they finally came to an understanding. I do think he was playing a Titleist Pro V1X before, at least as of 2021. Okay. That's what I could find as I'm Googling while I'm podcasting. So 2021, it seems he was playing a Pro V1X, now playing a Srixon golf ball. So maybe that was like the change that he made, and that was like the sticking point of the deal. But either way, he's got a Srixon bag. Other than that, I don't have too much on Lucas Glover. I did not talk to him about it. I just noticed that the staff bag in Greg's photos. Like, I didn't even notice when we were there. So I'm going to have to get some more information on that. Next up.
All right. Yeah.
After a long wait, really, probably for huge Ping fans, finally the Ping G430 LST Tour launch. So we finally got our first look at this LST. They just had the Max out there before, and all the Ping guys are playing the G430 Max. Kind of a tough week probably for a tour launch. Like I said, it's between Masters, PGA, and it's a designated event. Tough track, strong field. So I don't think like a ton of guys were testing the G430 yet, the LST yet, but we got to get a look at it. So we got to look at the profile, the sole, Greg did a great job getting photos and comparison photos against the Max. So you can see the LST and the Max side by side, sole and address, and the faces. You can see, how tall the face is. What do you think about this club? Because we don't have like too much, numbers from testing. I don't think there were a ton of testers, so it's really just speculation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that everybody's waiting for, the LST driver and fairway. Like, those are the two big ones, and we got the driver. And I think everybody at the time was kind of like, where's the LST fairway?
Yeah, right.
Like,
where's
it just didn't show up. Yeah, like it wasn't there. So, and there wasn't like a big explanation from Ping on why. Just like, here's the Max, and that was it. So, no, it looks interesting. It's definitely a little more compact. Definitely looks a little more rounded. Shorter from face to back than the Max is. The face looks to be a little bit deeper. Yep. So it looks like it's going to be a little deeper fairway. And then, on the sole, it's got this like tungsten middle weight that kind of pushes some of the CG forward, lower some spin, probably lower some launch a little bit. So I think it's going to be like, if you're a guy who really likes LST driver over Max driver, you may like the 3-wood. If you're in the same situation where you need to lower launch and lower spin just a little bit with 3-wood, it is a titanium and carbon fiber head, not steel like the Max. So it's going to be hot. It's going to go a long ways. It's not going to spin probably a ton. And it's only made in 3-wood. So if you're looking for an LST 5-wood or 7-wood, you're out of luck. But only a 3-wood. And I think it's 15 degrees is the one that they have there. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be a strong 3-wood later on or something.
I'm sure
like
that there's a 13-degree tour option either coming or somewhere. It already exists. It's just my guess.
Yeah, but a good looking, a great looking 3-wood. I think the Ping Max 430 Max looks decent. It looks pretty good, all those fairways. So this LST looks pretty solid, and it should be a bomber. The only downside is it ain't gonna be cheap. Titanium, carbon, all that.
How much do you think it's gonna come in cheap?
I think it's gonna be just like a Stealth 2 Plus. It'll be like $500. Something like that. It'll be like $100 less than driver or something like that.
That hurts so bad.
That's my guess.
That hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen any anything on it from Ping, but just looking at the photos and seeing it and then finding out it's titanium, it's not going to be cheap. There is no cheap titanium 3-wood out there. Any 3-wood that has titanium in it instead of steel is always like $100 more than the regular one. So
I haven't personally tested.
Looks good.
I haven't personally tested the G430 Max, but from what I gather, it's a fairly low spin product. So then you're going to the LST that's way more low spinning. I would probably say this is like the biggest spin killing fairway wood. Obviously I haven't hit it yet, but just logically thinking, if the Max is already a fairly low spinning club. Now it launches high, but I think they drop spin on the Max compared to previous iterations. And now this LST is going to just be crazy low spinning, like just knuckleball central with that.
It's going to be so long. It's going to be one of those like off the tee. Like it's going to be like, oh, do I hit driver? Do I hit 3-wood? They both go pretty much.
You talk about mini driver, so like that's basically what that thing is, except it's small.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I know if I have enough oomph in me to get that thing going.
That thing scares me.
I want to try it though.
It scares me. I don't know if I'm getting over 2,000 RPM of spin with that thing. All right, I wanted to throw this in there just because it's like a really interesting point of note to me. So Taylor Montgomery. If you don't know who Taylor Montgomery is, in 2023, so far, he's basically the best putter on tour. He leads the PGA Tour in like 1 putt percentage, total putts around, average putts around, make percentage from this distance. Like he's leading in so many different stats, and he's 3rd overall in strokes gained putting in general. Now he's been using a TaylorMade Ghost Spider from like 2013. Old putter, one of the oldest putters on tour. He's been using it forever. Obviously, putting lights out, and he's considering switching. It's just out of nowhere. I guess Scotty Cameron made him up a prototype mallet, which definitely doesn't look anything like a spider. It's a mallet, but it's a rounded mallet. What's the model? Are you looking at the photo? Forget
Yeah,
the
I think
exact
it's
model.
I think Scotty calls it the the TG or the T6.2 or something like
Okay,
that.
yeah, I'm looking
It's
at it now.
basically
Yeah,
based on the Golo,
TG
but it's
6.2. Okay.
yeah, yeah, because it's basically it's a Golo. It's basically like a Golo 6 with a crank neck or a plumber's neck on it.
Right. So
So a little different.
just out of nowhere, it's just so funny. Like when guys are playing well, why switch? But you look at the putter. It's a beautiful looking putter. He did try it out. I would be shocked if it went into play this week, but just the fact he's considering changing is interesting to me.
Yeah, it's the big change with that one is going from a TaylorMade has like the pure roll face. It's a groove face that has angled grooves on it, and it puts a better supposedly puts a better forward roll in the ball,
Yep.
less skidding, less hopping, all that. And then to go to a Cameron with a traditional all steel milled face, I wonder if there's any type of like for especially a guy at that level where distance control, the speed of the putt, and all that make a much bigger difference. You and I would probably take 2 minutes to get used to it. You hit two putts and
Yeah.
whatever. But for a guy like that who is so precise, it'd be interesting to see the change and why is he changing? Like why are you going to that? When you have such a different roll in the ball. And typically the TaylorMade putters have a little less loft because of that and things like that. So it'd be interesting to hear his what his reasoning is for trying this new putter.
Just so random. It's so different. Like you said, the face is so different. You're going from like a soft
Yeah.
insert to a milled face. Just wild stuff. So I'm going to try to talk to Taylor and see if he changes. We're going to have to just see this week, Thursday, Friday. Maybe he makes the cut, see him this weekend, see what he's got in there. Now, Jason Day went the other way. So he was playing a rounded Scotty Cameron mallet. Now it looks like he's going back to this TaylorMade. So what actually is this? So it says Ghost Spider Rasa on the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's the itsy bitsy spider, the Rosa, the itsy bitsy. That was I think back in the day when they kind of made the first ones that were they made all the red and then they made the black and then they when that was when we started seeing like a ton of different alignment aids and all that stuff and it was really kind of the takeoff of the spider. I feel like was when these itsy bitsies and that came out. That's when everybody really got into them. But yeah, it's a great it's putter that he won a bunch with back in the day. So he's putting in there trying to relive some magic.
Yeah, he kind of put the spiders on the map. I feel like when he got hot
Him
with
and
the
DJ
red
kind of did.
putter.
I feel like
Yeah, when he got hot with that red
yeah.
putter, it was like everyone wanted to switch into it. But anyway, it looks like he's going to switch back into that putter this week. But I don't think it's the same putter he used to play. Like it looks
Really?
a little bit different on the bottom. I think there's
That's
something
pretty.
different with the badging, and then the paint job looks completely new. So I think he just got a new version of his old black spider. That's what I'm gathering. Like it looks pretty new to
Yeah,
you,
it
doesn't
makes
it?
sense.
The paint job's pristine. It's perfect. It's
Oh
got to
yeah.
be a completely
For
new putter. Test.
for a putter that has won as many tournaments as it did and had as much probably practice time and all that on it, it does look brand new. So he either got it refinished or the good old boy is stashed away somewhere, in the trophy
I don't
room
think
at
he
home.
refinished
And
that
this is
putter.
a
I
new
think
version.
the other putter's probably in a trophy case in his house or something. He probably has some sort of room with all his trophies, and it's probably sitting in there. I would be mad at him if he repainted that original black spider. But anyway, last topic here.
Oh
I
boy.
told you it was a weird week for equipment. It's just a tweener week. So
Yeah.
we had some Cameron Champ action. He's testing all
Yeah.
these super long neck Ping PLD prototypes. Now,
Yep.
I don't have too much information because we're not even sure exactly what he's switching into, but you can go on our Golf WRX Instagram and see all of his putters. We have a post in there. Long neck, he's got Becks, Becks, written on the neck or stamped onto the neck on all the putters. I think him and his wife are expecting a child soon. They will be naming him Beckham. So Becks is
Yep.
the obvious nickname of the future child. But I just wanted to ask you, what is your take on super long necks and what's like the benefit?
My take is I've never really used them. They're kind of rare in retail form. You
Right.
don't see a lot of long necks that you can just go into the store and buy.
Like none.
Just because they do kind of none, because they just kind of look weird when they're sitting on the shelf. At a dress, they actually look just like a normal answer for the most part. But yeah, basically the whole thing of the long neck is you're basically adjusting the toe hang. So the longer the neck, the more face balance the putter is going to be. So you're going to take away some of the toe hang that a standard answer putter would have. And yeah, out of these two, it's interesting. One's like a black, like PVD finish, and the other one's the similar finish to yours, that patina finish that they do from your PLD. And the patinaed one has like a deeper milled face than the black one. Both have tons of lead tape on the sole, and the patinaed one has 4 tungsten weights, 2 in each bumper, toe and heel.
It's got to be so
which
heavy.
is weird. I've only seen singles. Yeah, I've only seen singles in there that, single tungsten weights on each bumper, and to see 2 on that one is kind of crazy. And I don't know if the black one has similar weights. You can't see them.
Can't tell.
If the finish covers them up, so you can't tell. But these things have to weigh an absolute ton. I mean, they have to be 370 grams, each in terms of head weight. So
I was thinking more like 600.
cool little putters.
I mean, that thing has to be so heavy.
But I don't know how many strips of lead tape are on the bottom. It's a ton. Throw in some tungsten weights. I mean, they've got to be a pretty hefty boys. But yeah, single little sight line on the top line, nothing on the flange. Clean looking guys, man. And then yeah, like you said, the soon to be born child nickname on the hosels, and I did have that confirmed by our boy Greg Moore, because I did ask him about it, and he got back to me, and the exact same story you told is what he told me.
And we saw him putting the lead tape on the putter himself. So huge respect
Nice.
for Cam Champ on that one.
Nice.
Anytime the lead tape comes out from the player, just brings a huge smile to my face. All right, well, that's all the news I have this week. Greg Moore, our Golf WRX Tour photographer, absolutely popped off, as he tends to do. Got a bunch of what's in the bags. We got Adam Scott, Lucas Glover, full what's in the bag. Rory with his wedge and putter changes. Jason Day, full what's in the bag. I got a Tony Finau, what's in the bag. Obviously coming off the win. He never changes anything, so there's nothing to talk about there. But
no.
If you want to see the full what's in the bag, we got updated photos. And then a bunch of custom Cameron putters. Scott Stallings has a really cool custom Cameron. Obviously, Taylor Montgomery, Ben On, Eric Cole, Ryan Gerard, just like a lot of Scotty Cameron customs. So check those out. Golf WRX forums, or go to the golfwrx.com main page. You can get the photos from there. Check out at Golf WRX on Instagram to see all our photos and videos from the week. I got some in-hand videos of Rory's wedges and putter. Nice. Yeah, you can check that out on our Instagram page. And that's really it, Knudsen. I know you have a hard stop coming up, but we had to talk some gear. You know that. We had a little action this week.
Heck yeah, man. You gotta talk some gear. And yeah, there was a ton of cool photos. I mean, like you said, all the stuff you named, there's swag prototypes.
Yep.
You name it. There was a swag putter prototypes. There was a ton of stuff on tour. So yeah, this was for a week that wasn't having a ton of change, there's a lot of stuff out.
I know, exactly. All right. Unfortunately, we say goodbye to Quail Hollow. Like, I get sad when I have to leave Quail Hollow and just Charlotte in general. Love it there. So yeah, all the listeners, enjoy this week. I'll be watching to see, what changes actually end up happening. I'm mostly interested in this Taylor Montgomery putter switch. I don't know why it's got me so fired up, but I want to see if he actually changes. Leading the tour in putting and changing your old putter. Either way,
I'm all about it.
It's fascinating. Fascinating stuff. But all right, that was two guys talking golf from the Wells Fargo Championship. Knudsen, go ahead and enjoy your weekend, man. Hopefully you play some golf.
Hey, I'm going to tee off. I got tee time early tomorrow morning, so we'll see how it goes.
I love it. We'll get the recap next week.
That's right.
All right, that was two guys talking golf. We'll see you next week.